Hey everyone, in this video we're just going to go through using a regression equation in time series, but focusing on deseasonalized data. So you can go through the process to deseasonalize your data. So for the two questions we're doing, the data's already been deseasonalized. So we're going to create a regression equation for that deseasonalized data, and then we're going to use that equation to forecast what's going to happen in the future. So forecasting and predicting are exactly the same thing. All right. So if you think about a weather forecast, you're just predicting what the weather's going to be tomorrow. So when we did bivariate data and regression lines, we talked about making predictions. In time series, where forecasting just means the same thing. All right, so let's make a start. So we've got a table of deseasonalized number of sales of a particular costume in a fancy dress store for each quarter in 2022 to 2023 and the seasonal indices. So this is our deseasonalized data here, and then we've got the seasonal indices underneath that. So just make sure when you put it into your calculator, you're not also putting in the seasonal indices. We're just putting in those 8 values. So in part A, we're doing a least squares trend line, also known as a regression line, for the deseasonalized time series data. And we're going to round our slope and intercept to 2 significant figures. All right, so let's get our calculator up. All right, I don't know it. Oh, this is one I've already done. Okay, so this is going to be nice and easy because I'm not going to spend time having to put the data in. Now you'll notice in list 1 we're going from 1 to 8. So this is, I'm just going to put here, this is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, quarter 5, quarter 6, quarter 7, quarter 8. All right, because when we do it on a time series plot, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, doing 1 to 8 on your calculator. Then in list 2, we've just got those corresponding values. Now, if we had to draw the time series plot, so just where you would go for a scatter plot, just choosing XY line, it just means it's going to join the dots for you. So I'll just show you, that's what we had on the screen before. So we can see that it's trending downward, all right? And it's quite a sharp downward trend, but we just have to say it's a downward trend. All right, so to get the equation, just like you would with the regression calc, regression, linear reg, and just putting your explanatory variable in, for X list and response for Y list, and here's our equation. So just making sure that with your equation, because it's in the form y equals a plus bx, that for y we put the response variable, so that's deseasonalized sales, and then our a value is to 2 significant figures, is just going to be 39, and I might just do b as well, so minus 3.7. So in 39 minus 3.7 times your explanatory variable. So you could do time or you could do quarter. It hasn't actually defined it in the question, so I'll just leave it as time, which is fine, or you could do quarter. All right, part B, plot it and then draw the trend line, which we've already done. Comment on the trend, so we also did that. But we're going to interpret the slope. So we interpret the slope exactly the same way we would when we do a regression equation for bivariate data. So I'm just trying to remember the phrase off the top of my head. So I'm just paraphrasing here. So the slope is negative 3.7. This means that on average, the deseasonalized, so remember it's your response variable, so it's not sales, it's deseasonalized sales, decreases because it's a negative slope by 3.7 sales for every 1 increase in quarters, something along those lines. Now for every, you could say for every quarter, but we have to make sure, because it makes more sense to say for every quarter, but when your interpretation's getting assessed, they want to see this one and they want to see the increase. So just making sure that you do put that in, even though like I feel it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, you could write the sentence in a way that would make much more sense. Oh, I'm running out of room. All right, use the trend line to forecast the deseasonalized number of sales for Q1 2024. So we ended at Q4 2023. So Q1 2024 is going to be quarter number, quarter 9, all right, the next quarter. So I might just do that quickly on the calculator. There we go. All right, so we'll go to main and we'll just use the rule. So negative 3 points, oops, let me just do that again. 39 minus 3.7 times 9, and we get 5.7. So that's our deseasonalize. Then in part D, it's actually asking us for the actual number. So we need to use the formula to calculate the actual. So this should be in your bound book. So your actual equals deseasonalized, deseasonalized times your seasonal index. All right, so I've just abbreviated that a bit because it's such a long formula. So deseasonalized, your deseasonalized value was, what was it, 5.7, what we worked out in the previous question. All right, so here, times the seasonal index. So we're doing it for Q1. So the seasonal index for Q1 is 0.9. So it's 5.7 times 0.9. Let's go back to the calc. So we're going to multiply that by 0.9 and we get 5.13. So all this means is when we're making a prediction, deseasonalizing the data just takes out any seasonal components and makes it a better estimate. Now, when I looked at this initially, we can see we've got some high values there, but you can see it's really going down. And when we look at the scatter plot, or not the scatter plot, the time series plot, where are we? All right, let's just have a look at it again. See how it's sharply declining. So an answer of 5, 5.13 does kind of make sense. You could think about, well, is that accurate? And it could be accurate. We're only predicting for 1 quarter going on when we're not predicting a far way in the future. So if we were doing, say, Q1 for 2025, it probably wouldn't be that accurate because it's so far in the future, but Q1 2024 is not too far in the future. All right, let's do the same thing, but we'll do it a little bit quicker for question 4. So this time we've got monthly sales again for a market stall. It is deseasonalized, even though it doesn't say here like it did in the previous question, and we've got the seasonal indices. So let's go ahead and put all that data into our calculator. So we'll just resize that, and I do have data in here, so let's just clear. All right, so we've got 2 years and we've got months, so we're going to have to go all the way, oops, what am I doing? Pressing plus instead of enter. Put all the values in until we get to 24. All right, I'm going to just pause and do that, and you can pause and do it in your calculator as well. All right, I've put in all the data and I've done a quick check. To be honest, I haven't been that thorough with my check, but you should be on your SAC and for your exam, because you would hate to just get one number incorrect and then you're going to get the wrong equation. So I've done this question before, so I'll know if I get the wrong answer for our equation. All right, let's have a look at what it looks like first. So we're going to XY line, and there it is. So it hasn't got the regression. Once we do the regression equation, we can put it on. So you can see very high peaks and troughs. So what it means when we're deseasonalizing it, it's just going to take that into consideration. So it's not going to be, when we do deseasonalize it, it's not going to be affected as much by those peaks. All right, so calculate regression, linear regression. All right, so let's copy it down, and that's correct, remember. So our value of A is 211. So we're doing it for 3 significant figures, and B is negative 0.127. So remember, if you get stuck with, if you get confused with your rounding, you can just use S round on your main screen. So write the number down and then just use S round if you're having trouble with rounding to significant figures. All right, so our variable, so for A, we've got deseasonalized sales again, is equal to 211 minus 0.127 times time, or you could do month, that's okay. All right, we're going to use the trend line to forecast the deseasonalized sales for May of 2023. So we end at December 2022. So then if you can just write it on the side, then we're going Jan, Feb, March, April, May. All right, so we want May of the following year. So December 2022, this 195 was month 24. So this is 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So we're going to do month 29. So with our equation, I'm just going to write DS for deseasonalized sales, 211 minus 0.127 times 29 is going to give us the deseasonalized value. All right, so okay, go back to the main screen. So 211 minus 0.127 times 29. And we had to do it to the nearest dollar, so 207. All right, so we were forecasting the deseasonalized. Now in C, we're forecasting the actual sales. So this just means, you know, we've considered the seasonal component, and the doing this will just be more accurate. So actual is equal to deseasonalized times the seasonal index. So 207, and we're doing for May. So we go to May and it's 0.86. All right, so we just do that on the calc. 0.86. And to the nearest dollar, so 178. All right, so just when you're forecasting, just take note whether it's asking for the deseasonalized, then you just use the equation. If you're working out the actual, you're using this formula here, but obviously you need to calculate the deseasonalized from your equation first and getting your seasonal index from the table. All right, bye guys.